The rain-slicked streets of downtown Seattle gleamed under the sodium lights as Emily Harper pulled into the parking garage at 5:45 a.m. Her old Honda Civic coughed once before settling into silence, the only sound left being the distant hum of the city waking up. She grabbed her laptop bag, thermos, and the stack of meticulously organized binders she'd spent the weekend compiling. Today was the day, the multi-million-dollar investor pitch that could make or break Apex Dynamics, the tech startup where she'd been grinding away as the operations coordinator for 3 years. But as she swiped her badge and stepped into the dimly lit lobby, she knew her role all too well, invisible glue holding the egos together. Emily's desk was tucked in the corner of the open-plan office, surrounded by glass-walled conference rooms where the real power plays happened. She flicked on her monitor, the blue glow illuminating the dark circles under her eyes. No one else was in yet. Of course. The executives, the ones with stock options and expense accounts, would roll in around 9, fresh from their spin classes or artisanal coffee runs. Meanwhile, she'd already run through the checklist twice at home. AV setup, catering confirmations, slide deck backups, even a contingency plan for the unreliable Wi-Fi in the main boardroom. It was her job to anticipate disasters, to make sure the show ran smoothly while everyone else took the bows. By 7 a.m., the first signs of life stirred. Mark, the VP of sales, breezed past without a glance, his AirPods blasting some motivational podcast. "Morning," she murmured, but he didn't hear or care. Then came Lisa, the CFO, heels clicking like judgment calls. She paused at Emily's desk just long enough to drop a sticky note, double-check the vegan options. Last time was a disaster. "No hello. No thank you." Emily nodded, peeling the note off her keyboard. She'd already confirmed the catering 3 times, including a backup order for gluten-free backups. But pointing that out would just earn her a patronizing smile. The morning dragged on with a steady drip of demands. "Ink. Sweetie, can you grab me a fresh Sharpie? Mine's dry." That was from Brad, the CFO, who always added that diminutive like it was a term of endearment instead of a dismissal. She bit back the urge to remind him her name was Emily, not M, and certainly not Sweetie. Instead, she fished one from her drawer, the one she kept stocked for exactly these moments, and handed it over with a neutral expression. "Here you go." He took it without looking up from his phone. "You're a lifesaver." But the way he said it, it sounded more like, "You're convenient." Emily had learned early on to swallow the bitterness. At 32, with a degree in business administration and a resume dotted with support roles, she knew the game. Women like her were the backbone, but never the face. She remembered the promotion last year, from junior admin to operations coordinator. It came with a 5% raise and a pat on the back, but no real authority. "You're essential," the CEO had said during the announcement, but his eyes were already on his next meeting. Essential? Sure, like the coffee machine or the printer toner. As the clock ticked toward 10 a.m., the office buzzed with pre-pitch energy. The team huddled in the war room, debating font choices and taglines like they were crafting the Gettysburg Address. Emily hovered on the periphery, laptop open, fixing a last-minute graph that someone had mangled with incorrect data. "Hey, Ink, make sure the projector's not glitchy like last time," Brad called out, eliciting chuckles from the group. She felt the heat creep up her neck. Last time's glitch? That was because he'd insisted on using his personal laptop without testing it. But she said nothing, just nodded and slipped out to the boardroom. The room was pristine, polished oak table, ergonomic chairs, a massive screen dominating one wall. She tested the HDMI cables twice, adjusted the lighting to avoid glare, and arranged the water pitchers with lemon slices floating like little life preservers. In the quiet, she allowed herself a moment to breathe. This pitch was for a $150 million infusion to scale their AI logistics platform. If it went well, the company could explode. If not,
Well,
she'd be the one updating resumes while the execs parachuted to new gigs. Back at her desk, she caught a typo in the executive summary, a swapped digit in the projected ROI that could tank credibility. She fixed it, saved a new version, and Slack messaged the team. No response.
typical.
Then, as she headed to the kitchen for a refill, she overheard them in the break room. Em's got the details nailed. But can you imagine her presenting? She'd probably spill her coffee mid-sentence. Laughter erupted. Brad's voice, unmistakable. Emily froze in the hallway, hand on the doorframe. The words stung, sharp and familiar. She didn't cry, not here, not ever. Instead, she straightened her blazer, poured her coffee black and strong, and returned to her desk. The pitch was in 2 hours. Plenty of time for things to unravel. Outside, the rain had turned to a misty drizzle, coating the windows with a foggy veil. Emily glanced out, spotting a figure struggling near the entrance. An older man, bundled in a worn raincoat, was bent over, trying to gather scattered papers from a puddle-soaked briefcase. Cars zipped by on the street, oblivious. Pedestrians hurried past with umbrellas.
Eyes down.
He slipped once, knee hitting the wet pavement, but no one stopped. Emily watched for a beat, then grabbed her coat. Just a minute, she whispered to herself. The office could wait. She pushed through the revolving doors, the chill hitting her like a slap. Hey, need a hand? The man looked up, surprise etching his weathered face. He was in his late 50s, maybe, with salt and pepper hair matted by the rain and eyes that held a quiet weariness.
Oh, no.
Miss, I've got it. Just a clumsy moment, but his hands were trembling from the cold, papers sopping wet. Emily knelt anyway, ignoring the water seeping into her slacks. It's no trouble. Let's get these out of the puddle. Together, they salvaged what they could, documents, a cracked phone case, a thermos that had rolled under a bench. He thanked her profusely, his voice gravelly but kind. People don't stop much anymore. She shrugged, handing him the last sheet. Shouldn't have to ask for help. As she stood, she pressed her untouched coffee into his hand. Here, warm up with this. He blinked, then nodded. Bless you. Emily smiled faintly and hurried back inside, shaking off the rain. Her watch read 11:45. The pitch loomed, and she was soaked. But something in her chest felt a fraction lighter, like a small act of defiance against the day's grind. The boardroom filled up like a theater before curtain call. Executives claimed their seats, laptops open, practicing their lines with the fervor of Broadway understudies. Emily slipped in last, positioning herself at the AV station in the corner, a folding table with cables snaking across the floor. She connected her laptop, ran a quick system check, and dimmed the lights just enough to make the screen pop. The air smelled of fresh brewed espresso from the catering cart she'd wheeled in herself, complete with those vegan pastries Lisa had demanded. Brad paced at the front, adjusting his tie for the umpteenth time. This is it. Team. Nail the vision. Seal the deal. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the room. The CEO,
Tom,
sat at the head, scrolling his phone with feigned nonchalance. Emily knew better. His leg bounced under the table, a telltale sign of nerves. The investor was due any minute, an enigmatic figure who'd insisted on anonymity until the meeting. All they knew was his firm controlled billions in venture capital, and this pitch could catapult Apex into unicorn status. As the clock hit noon, the door swung open. In walked a man in a tailored navy suit, exuding an aura of quiet command. His shoes clicked softly on the hardwood, briefcase in hand. Emily's breath caught. It was him, the man from outside. The one with the scattered papers. Cleaned up,
Dry.
and transformed, but those eyes were unmistakable. He didn't glance her way, just nodded to the room and took the central guest seat. Brad jumped into action, extending a hand. Welcome. I'm Brad Kessler.
Coup.
Thrilled you're here. The man shook it briefly. Let's get to it, he said, voice steady and low. No small talk. No pleasantries. Emily's mind raced. Coincidence? Or something more? The pitch kicked off with Tom's opener, a slick anecdote about disrupting the logistics industry with AI-driven efficiency. Slides transitioned seamlessly, thanks to Emily's triple backups. Graphs climbed optimistically. Buzzwords flowed like honey: scalability, synergy, paradigm shift. The man listened intently, jotting occasional notes, his expression unreadable. Emily monitored from the shadows, ready to troubleshoot. But her thoughts wandered to the rain outside, to the brief moment of humanity amid the corporate machine. Midway through Brad's segment on operational rollout, the man raised a hand. The room hushed. Your timeline here, Phase 1 deployment in 30 days. How's the back-end infrastructure? Holding up? Brad faltered for a split second, then recovered.
Solid.
Our ops team has it locked down. He glanced at Emily, but not really at her, more through her. She felt a prickle. The slide in question had a flaw she'd spotted earlier, an overestimation of warehouse capacity in the Pacific Northwest. She'd prepped a correction but hadn't pushed it, assuming they'd review.
Now.
It hung there like a loose thread. The man pressed. And the vendor contracts? Any contingencies for delays? Tom chimed in. Absolutely. We've modeled it all. But Emily knew they hadn't, not fully. The execs had skimmed her detailed report, dismissing it as overkill. She shifted in her seat, fingers hovering over her keyboard. Should she interject? Risk the glare? The man's eyes flicked toward her corner, almost imperceptibly. Who handles the ops details? He asked. Brad waved vaguely. Our coordinator. Emily. She's support. The word support landed like a demotion. Emily met the man's gaze briefly, then spoke up. Actually, I revised the timeline last night to account for a potential bottleneck in Seattle ports. Staggered rollout. West Coast in 25 days. Midwest in 40. It's in the shared drive under revisions. Silence blanketed the room. Brad's jaw tightened. We can discuss that offline, he muttered. But the man nodded. Smart adjustment. Emily's heart pounded. For once, her voice had cut through the noise. The pitch resumed, but the energy shifted. The man's questions grew sharper. Probing pain points the execs glossed over. How do you ensure team integrity? He asked at one point. Brad launched into a spiel about company culture. But Emily sensed the undercurrent, something personal in his tone. As the Q&A wrapped, he leaned back. I've seen enough. Murmurs erupted. Tom leaned forward. Any initial thoughts? The man steepled his fingers. One more thing. He turned to the group. This morning, outside, I was dealing with a mishap. Papers everywhere in the rain. No one stopped. Except one person. Eyes widened. Emily's stomach twisted. He continued. She helped without hesitation. Gave me her coffee. Didn't know me from Adam. Brad chuckled nervously. Well, Seattle's full of good Samaritans. The man's gaze hardened. It was her. He pointed at Emily. The room gasped. And that's the kind of character I invest in. Chaos simmered just below the surface. Brad's face paled. Wait. You were outside. The man nodded. testing the waters, seeing the real company culture. Emily sat frozen, the pieces clicking. He'd been incognito, gauging them all, and she'd passed without trying. The revelation hung in the air like smoke after a firework. The executives exchanged glances, a mix of confusion and dawning horror. Tom cleared his throat.
That's
Impressive. But let's focus on the proposal. The man ignored him, eyes locked on Emily. You didn't hesitate.
why. She swallowed.
Voice steady despite the adrenaline. Because it's the right thing. Titles don't matter when someone's struggling. He smiled faintly, the first real emotion he'd shown. Exactly. Brad interjected, voice pitching higher. Look, we're all about integrity here. This pitch. The man cut him off. Integrity isn't a slide. It's action. He flipped open his briefcase, pulling out a tablet. I've reviewed your financials. Your tech. It's solid. But the people? That's the wild card. Lisa, the CFO,
Leaned in.
we've built a strong team. He raised an eyebrow. Strong enough to overlook the one holding it together? Emily felt exposed, like a spotlight had swung her way after years in the wings. He recounted the morning in detail, the spilled briefcase, the indifferent passers-by, including a few Apex employees he'd recognized from LinkedIn profiles. Your sales lead walked by on her phone. Your COO parked nearby. Didn't glance over. Brad shifted uncomfortably. It was raining hard. We were prepping. Excuses tumbled out, but the man waved them away. Excuses are cheap. She acted. Emily's mind reeled. This wasn't just an investor, he was a judge. And they'd all been on trial without knowing. The tension built like a storm front. Tom tried to steer back. Let's talk terms. We're open to negotiation. But the man shook his head. Terms are simple. I sign with her leading ops integration. Gasps echoed. Brad spluttered. She's not executive level. The man stood, buttoning his jacket. She is now. Or no deal. He handed Emily a card. Call me. We'll discuss your role. With that, he exited, leaving the room in stunned silence. The door clicked shut, and the eruption began. What the hell? Tom barked at Brad. You let this happen? Brad pointed fingers. How was I supposed to know he was playing dress up? Lisa scrolled frantically on her phone, muttering about legal ramifications. Emily remained seated, the card burning in her palm. It read, Victor Lang, Managing Partner, Horizon Ventures. A quick mental search recalled his rep, a billionaire who'd built his empire on spotting undervalued talent. Whispers turned to arguments. She's just the coordinator, someone hissed. And she just saved our asses, another countered. Emily stood finally, voice cutting through. I didn't do it for this. But if it means real change. She trailed off, the weight settling. The execs eyed her differently now, not as support, but as a threat or ally. Brad approached. Forced smile.
Ink.
Congrats. We can work this out. But she saw the calculation in his eyes. The damming had broken. The flood was coming. Post-meeting chaos spilled into the hallways. Executives clustered in knots. Phones buzzing with urgent calls to legal and HR. Emily slipped out to the kitchen, needing air, or at least a moment away from the stairs. Her phone vibrated. A text from an unknown number. Victor here. Lunch tomorrow? We have much to discuss. She stared at the screen, the surrealism hitting hard. Yesterday, she was fetching Sharpies. Today, a billionaire wanted her input. Back in the office, Tom called an emergency huddle. This changes everything. Brad paced, red-faced. We can't let some random act dictate our structure. But Lisa, ever pragmatic, Pulled up org charts. Legally, if he conditions the investment on her promotion, we adapt or lose the funding. Grumbles ensued. Emily, invited to the huddle for the first time, listened quietly. When asked her thoughts, she said, "Focus on what's best for the company, not egos." The room quieted. Victor's lesson had landed. That night, Emily researched him, a self-made mogul who'd started as a janitor's son, emphasizing character over credentials. His tests were legendary, disguising himself to gauge company cultures. Apex had failed. Except for her. The next day, over lunch at a quiet bistro, Victor outlined his vision. "I see potential in you. Lead the ops team. Shape the rollout. Equity stake included." She negotiated firmly, securing fair terms. "Deal," he said, shaking her hand. Back at Apex, the announcement dropped like a bomb. Promotions, restructures, Emily now director of operations. Brad's smirk faded. He reported to her now. Whispers of resentment bubbled, but results silenced them. Under her lead, the rollout succeeded. Efficiencies soared. Months later, Apex thrived, the investment fueling growth. Emily's corner office overlooked the city, but she kept her old thermos as a reminder. No more sweetie, respect replaced diminutives. Yet, she pondered the irony. One act of kindness upended hierarchies. On a rainy day, spotting a stranger struggling with groceries, she stopped to help. No cameras, no stakes, just humanity. The cycle continued, leaving her with a lingering question. In a world of facades, how many opportunities do we miss by not seeing each other? The rain fell softly, washing the streets clean, hinting at fresh starts.